Greetings, Victorians, and welcome to Update 1.10. We have a lot to cover today, so let's dive right in. Cultural fervor is a measure of the nationalistic spirit of a population. Pops with high cultural fervor will become resistant to assimilation and are more inclined to join cultural movements. Cultural minority movements with a high fervor will have bonuses to their baseline activism. A country with high fervor of their primary culture will receive the following bonuses: boons during times of war, domestic politics will tend to move in a nationalistic direction, increased war support, and with non-subjecthood citizenship laws, an increase in liberty desire gain. Those pops will be more likely to join a cultural majority movement, which will funnel them away from potentially more troublesome opposition political movements. This will put pressure on interest groups and increases the rate at which ethno-nationalist politicians can appear. By maintaining discriminatory citizenship laws, you can render the privileged sections of one's population politically inert. Additionally, AI countries with high fervor, primary cultures, will become more bold and aggressive when seeking to capture claims, seek independence from their overlords, or humiliate their rivals. And on the domestic front, the AI will be more likely to adopt a nationalistic political agenda. Cultural traits have seen a rework. In Update 1.10, the discrimination traits possessed by each culture has been standardized. By default, each culture now has two traits, a language trait and a heritage trait. These traits are contained within larger trait groups. In effect, this means that each culture now has 4 traits of varying relevance that will represent a culture's closer and more distant relatives. Tradition traits can be gained or lost in various ways, such as completing a journal entry. Religious traits have been updated to work in a similar way. For example, the Catholic religion now has the Christian trait, which belongs to the Abrahamic trait group. This system of traits and groups allows for laws to discriminate against cultures more or less based on their proximity to the state religion or state culture. The citizenship and church and state laws have been amended to incorporate this broader range of possibilities. In general, cultures with shared traits are more accepted. Obstinance represents civil disobedience and is distinct from turmoil. The level of obstinance generated by a movement is tied to its supporters, meaning that the most politically advanced sections of certain cultures or religious groups will tend to become obstinate first. Movements that have been made insurrectionary will also necessarily be obstinate, weakening the state in the build-up to insurrection. Movements can now have effects over borders. A movement becoming insurrectionary causes an uptick in activism amongst all movements in neighboring countries of the same type. For example, if a Polish nationalist movement in Russia becomes insurrectionary, the Polish national movements in Austria and Prussia will also see an increase in activism. These movements will also have an increased chance of spawning if the requirements are met and a neighboring country that has higher prestige than you also has that movement. The support separatism interaction is now unlocked by researching nationalism and increases pop attraction and activism of cultural minority movements in the target country. Ethnostates have bonuses to the strength of support separatism, and multiculturalism will be more resistant to separatism. Support separatism can be countered by expelling the diplomats from the country initiating it, suppressing the affected movement, or enacting laws which will reduce movement activism. The Promote National Values decree has been improved. It is now unlocked by researching the nationalism technology as well, and may force pops living on their homelands to assimilate into the primary culture. You may also see a new element to the map, the National Awakening's marker. This marker will highlight the epicenter of a nation's national awakening, the point at which a nation's literary culture reaches critical mass, and catalyzes a rapid increase in national consciousness. A culture may have one national awakening per game, and this may occur when a certain culture hits 25 cultural fervor. This will catalyze the formation of a nationalist movement, increase attraction to cultural movements, and further increase fervor while it is active. As a multicultural empire, a subject having a national awakening is something you might want to keep an eye on. You may have already noticed earlier in the video, but we have a new citizenship law called subjecthood. This will be the new default law for most unrecognized powers and certain European countries that have not adopted the nation-state model. The new colonial slavery law will represent the current state of affairs that many European nations find themselves in at the start of the game, where they have officially banned slavery in their mainland holdings, but will maintain the institution in their overseas colonies. This will be active by default for countries like Spain, Portugal, Denmark, the Netherlands, and France. New narrative content has been added in for the Ottomans, Austria, Wallachia and Moldavia, and Montenegro. The Grand Collapse is a new journal entry for the Ottoman Empire, representing the dissolution of the empire following a particularly great catastrophe. The Grand Collapse becomes available if the Ottoman Empire has not successfully completed the Tanzimat. This journal entry serves as a timer to the demise of the Ottoman Empire. Its buttons contains options that may assist you in escaping the terrible fate that awaits you at the end of the timer. And as a side note, if the Tanzimat is not completed, the Ottoman Empire becomes a republic, which is incompatible with its continued existence as an empire. The Springtime of the People's journal entry has been updated. Once any applicable European country experiences a revolution from a movement that is either liberal or socialist, the Springtime of the People's journal entry will activate for all European countries that have researched egalitarianism. The changes made and additions to content is extensive, and we have outlined them all in the dev diary that we will link in the description below. Several cultures will now have national liberalism movements: German, Italian, and Yugoslavian. In the cases of Germany and Italy, these will replace the cultural majority and radical movements, and they will be important in the unification of Germany and Italy moving forwards. Greek journal entries have been updated if you have been thinking about Rome today. And keeping this ball rolling, Austria, Hungary, and the Balkans have also seen updates to their journal entries. While you've always been able to change the theme and visual look of the UI in Victoria 3, now we have a new dynamic system which will automatically update the visual appearance of your game based on the country that you're playing. But if you'd like to choose the theme of your game and stick with it, you can always turn off the dynamic setting. And finally, there have been a number of map reworks. In Europe, you'll be able to find changes around Bukovina, Kosovo, Cilicia, Serbia, Slovakia, Vilnius, and Saxony. Heading down to East Africa, you'll be able to find changes around Oman, Zanzibar, and Ethiopia. And in Southeast Asia, you'll be able to find the changes around Dainam, Cambodia, and Siam. All these changes will be included for free in the 1.10 update that is releasing alongside the National Awakening DLC. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.